It was a bright, historic morning as thousands of citizens gathered at the heart of the Capitol to witness the president address the nation. The air buzzed with excitement, flags fluttered in unison, and the crowd's cheers created a wave of energy that spread through the streets. Banners hung from every building, and a sea of people, young and old, filled the square with hopeful eyes fixed on the stage. A moment of unity, pride, and celebration seemed to blanket the scene. But beneath the surface, danger quietly stirred. The president stood behind a bulletproof podium, flanked by elite security personnel, delivering warm smiles and steady waves to the roaring crowd. Surveillance drones hovered overhead. Snipers scanned every rooftop. The security presence was tight, flawless, and alert. Yet no amount of manpower could match the senses of one particular guardian on duty that morning. At the foot of the stage stood K9 Unit Alpha, a disciplined German Shepherd trained for high-level threat detection. His handler gripped the leash, but Alpha was already locked in a focused stance, nose lifted slightly, ears twitching, and eyes constantly sweeping. Unlike humans, he didn't need words or signals. His instincts were his radar, and something in the air had shifted. His body stiffened for a split second as a faint, unnatural scent hit his nose, subtle, almost hidden beneath perfume, sweat, and food in the air. But to Alpha, it was unmistakable. It was the smell of chemicals, components used in explosives. The dog tilted his head, nostrils flaring again to confirm. He didn't bark, didn't move wildly. Instead, he gave a low, almost imperceptible growl. The handler immediately noticed and tapped his earpiece to alert the security team. Still, in a crowd this large, identifying a potential bomber would be like finding a needle in a haystack. But Alpha didn't need a needle. He had a trail. His body shifted slightly, pulling forward, leading his handler gently but firmly toward the left side of the crowd. Security agents watched closely as the dog's behavior changed from passive to active, each step becoming more urgent. The president remained unaware, continuing his warm-up speech. News cameras focused on his every gesture, the crowd oblivious to the silent danger creeping closer. All the while, Alpha's eyes locked onto a figure in the crowd, tense, sweating, standing unusually still. Every instinct in the dog screamed danger, and without waiting for command, Alpha's muscles coiled, preparing to act. The celebration continued on the surface, but at ground level, seconds were ticking toward either disaster or heroism. In the middle of the vibrant crowd, filled with laughter, applause, and patriotic chants, one figure stood out, not for his appearance but for his behavior. He wasn't waving a flag or chanting along with the others. His body remained stiff, shoulders slightly hunched, eyes darting nervously toward the stage. Sweat poured down his forehead despite the mild morning breeze, and his lips moved as if whispering to himself. He kept glancing at his wrist, not to check the time, but to confirm something hidden beneath his jacket. While thousands celebrated in joyful chaos, this man was locked in his own dark mission. At that very moment, K9 Unit Alpha reacted. The scent had grown stronger, more distinct. His ears snapped forward, head turning toward the source, and without hesitation he began pulling his handler through the crowd. It was no longer a slow investigation. This was pursuit. The handler recognized the shift instantly and followed Alpha's lead, signaling to nearby agents that something was wrong. People stepped aside, confused by the sudden urgency. Security agents readied themselves, hands near weapons, scanning faces for any sign of threat. The tension cracked the atmosphere like static. Alpha moved faster, nose lowered, weaving through the dense crowd with precision. His focus was unshakable, drawn to the growing scent of explosives and adrenaline. Then Alpha stopped. 10 feet ahead stood the suspicious man. He was now edging slowly toward the front barricade, less than 50 feet from the president. His right hand hovered near his chest, hidden beneath layers of clothing. Alpha bared his teeth slightly, growling low. The handler dropped into position, whispering into his mic. Target identified. The agents began closing in, surrounding from multiple angles but quietly, careful not to spark a panic. The man sensed movement. He glanced around and noticed the dog. Panic flickered in his eyes. His hand dropped further under the jacket, trembling now. Beneath the layers of cotton and polyester, tightly strapped to his torso, was a vest, lined with wires, plastic explosives, and a crude detonator. He wasn't supposed to be nervous. He was trained, but the sight of the K-9, the sound of crackling radios, and the sudden closing in of plainclothes officers threw him off balance. He started moving forward, pushing against the people around him. One hand clenched the trigger mechanism inside his coat pocket. He was almost within blast range of the stage. The president, still speaking, remained unaware. The cameras never showed this side of the rally. The quiet panic, the unspoken urgency, the second-by-second dance between life and tragedy. Time slowed as Alpha lowered his body, coiled like a spring. Eyes locked on the target. One breath, one heartbeat, one decision left. Without a single command, Alpha burst into action. The German shepherd's muscles exploded with energy as he surged forward, cutting through the crowd with incredible speed and power. A sharp, forceful bark sliced through the noise of the rally, causing nearby attendees to gasp and turn, just in time to see the blur of movement heading straight for the suspect. The man's eyes widened in shock as the dog leaped through the air, closing the final distance in a single, perfect motion. In one fluid strike, Alpha hit the suspect's chest with full force, knocking him backward onto the concrete. The impact caused the man's head to snap back and his body to sprawl awkwardly. He grunted, stunned, but not unconscious. His hand, trembling and slick with sweat, still reached beneath his jacket, fingers brushing the trigger device tucked into the inner lining. But it was too late. Alpha bit down hard on the man's forearm, pinning it away from the jacket with unrelenting pressure. In seconds, security agents were on the scene, weapons drawn, voices shouting commands, pushing bystanders back. Panic erupted around the square. Screams pierced the air and people began scrambling away from the center, unaware of what had just occurred or how close they had come to disaster. The president was swiftly escorted off the stage by Secret Service agents, his face set in urgent confusion as earpieces buzzed with live updates. The crowd, once joyful, now surged with chaos, a storm of movement and fear as trained teams secured the perimeter. Alpha, still latched onto the suspect's arm, growled with intensity, refusing to release his grip until his handler gave the signal. Bomb squad members in full gear rushed in, dropping beside the suspect and carefully pulling open his jacket. The sight was chilling. Wires, plastic explosives, and a timer that had not yet begun its countdown. The makeshift bomb had been seconds away from detonation, and without Alpha's intervention, it could have taken dozens, perhaps hundreds, of lives, including the president's. The dog's training had taught him to detect danger, but what he had done in this moment went beyond obedience. It was instinct, bravery, and precision all at once. The suspect, now restrained and groaning in pain, was quickly disarmed and dragged away for interrogation. Alpha stood back panting, ears alert, blood on his muzzle, but eyes calm and steady. His handler knelt beside him, placed a firm hand on his shoulder, and whispered quiet praise. The team knew exactly what had just happened. They had watched a hero in motion. Every second of Alpha's training, every hour of preparation, had led to this moment. And in that moment, one dog had prevented a national tragedy and preserved a symbol of hope and leadership. While others fled, Alpha charged forward, fearless and focused, saving lives before the world even realized they were in danger. Later that evening, under a calm night sky lit by camera flashes and a grateful crowd, Alpha stood proudly beside his handler as the president approached with solemn respect. The atmosphere was filled with emotion, relief, pride, and admiration. In front of the nation, Alpha was awarded the highest honor for bravery, a gleaming medal gently placed around his neck. The president offered a firm salute, eyes meeting the dog's as if recognizing the silent courage within. Alpha's tail wagged softly, his posture calm but alert. In that moment, the world saw what true heroism looked like. Not all heroes wear capes, some wear collars.